Ever sit there and you get kind of a creepy feeling? You think, oh my God, we've been talking pest control today. Going from subjects of mice and rats and raccoons and then to cockroaches and carpenter ants, termites. But you know what, though? Honestly, it's one of those cases that you hate to really talk about it because you never want to admit that you have this problem. But if you don't talk about it, if you don't admit it, then you're not going to get rid of them. And why on earth would you want to have any type of pests in your place, your home? It doesn't matter. I know there's certain things that you could find in houses like townhouses and semis and detaches. And then, of course, there's other things that you would actually find in condominiums. Because people that live in condos, they figure, hey, I'm living in a condo. I don't have to worry about pest control. But we're going to talk about that. But one quick thing, Joe Bruno is on the in the show today with me. And, Joe, you mentioned about the queen for carpenter ants.
Right.
Now, I've got a really big question here. Like, where does she come from originally? Like, is there one hatching with nothing but queens? Or one ant ends up being hatched and it happens to be a queen? How does that all revolve?
Well, what typically happens is that, you'll have a colony of ants. You'll have a queen. And then at some stage, the colony is just so big that the queen now decides to reproduce herself. She will then lay eggs, which become male-female reproductives. And so you may see, when you start to see winged ants, some of those ants are male and some of those ants are female. They'll fly around and they'll mate. And then the males then have done their business, and now we have fertilized female reproductives, which become queens. And so they'll fly off, and then they'll find a little bit of soil somewhere or a tree somewhere, and then they'll start their own colony. And then the process continues from there. So you'll have new colonies starting. So you'll have a queen. She will start laying eggs. The eggs will become workers. The workers will go out, groom her. They'll bring back food to the nest. So now she has her nutrients, and then she'll start to create more eggs, which become more workers, and so on and so on and so on. And then in about 3 or 4 years, when her colony is big enough, they've reached, let's say, 10,000 ants, she will then lay eggs, which become alates, which are male-female reproductives. And then that swarming process will take place again.
Oh, wow.
And new queens will be reproduced, and then so on and so on.
And so on. So the queen ant will always have the wings. Or anything reproducing through the queen ant and so on will always have wings. But most carpenter ants don't have wings, though.
They have wings. The queen ant will have wings initially.
Right.
Once she's mated with the male alate, and she will lose her wings and become a queen. The male now will be discarded from the nest. He's done his business. He's no longer needed by all the females there.
Oh, man.
And so those guys are useless now. And they get kicked out of there.
They're like, out of here. Okay, go.
It's the same story as, it's the same thing with wasps and bees. They're basically part of the same family. It's called Hymenoptera. Wow. So it's the same family, and they do the same thing.
Well, I wish I knew you. Last year, I had a wasp issue. The hornets, the yellow hornets.
Yes,
they're dangerous. They are ridiculously
Mm-hmm.
dangerous. We were actually up in we have a country home up in Dunnville. I had a shrub that I threw it aside in a little bucket that I had because I was going to toss it for the garbage. I never got around to it for, the recycling when they pick it up and stuff. And I just forgot about it. So anyway, we, a few months later, we decided we're cleaning up the garden, and I walk over to this thing and I pick it up. Right. And I'm walking with it. And then I got attacked by yellow hornets, and I got 18 stings. Enough to call the paramedics, the ambulance. I almost died. It was unbelievable.
Oh, my God.
18 bee sting, or wasp stings. Mm-hmm. I passed out. I was unconscious. Oh. Yeah, totally, because the venom, I guess, with 18 of them. Oh, yeah, my husband called, the ambulance came, the OPP came. And,
really?
They had to rush me to the hospital. They had to give me oxygen, and it was what I had done. I'll tell you what happened was, they created a nest under the shrub. Can you imagine a dead shrub?
Yes.
In the, just sitting there in this bucket. They created a nest under there. When I picked it up, I broke the nest in half.
Oh.
Okay. And then they started to attack me, and I started running because I see all these wasps, and my husband comes over to try to help me. They don't go after him at all. They know it was me.
Yes.
Yes. So the first thing I thought was, okay, run in the house. So I ran into the house, and my husband came after me. No wasps came with me.
Right.
Once I read, they took off. And then I started to feel really hot, like ridiculously hot. I thought it was burning up, and I decided I was going to go and just get a cool shower to tone the body temperature down.
Right.
And literally, I passed out in the shower. My husband caught me.
Oh,
and that was the next thing I know, I was in the hospital. It was really bad. So people really, they have to watch for that, because I never knew that hornets, those wasps, could live under the ground like that. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, they can. They'll nest anywhere, really. And I mean, last year was the worst year I've ever seen for wasps.
There's so many of them, wasn't there?
Last year was ridiculous when it comes to wasps. They were everywhere, especially at the end of the year. I was getting calls after calls after calls. We got wasps in our home. We have wasps here. We have wasps there. They were everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. So I don't know if that will be the case this year. I think Mother Nature, it works in cycles. Last year was a wasps year. So maybe this year it'll be a different kind of year. It'll be a different insect that's going to, be everywhere. Maybe it's ladybugs this year. Or mice
ladybugs,
again.
that's another one too, is you see them sometimes. Like, I actually have an EpiPen now. So if anybody has, it's good to keep those. Because now apparently have some kind of immunization with wasps and so on after having so many stings. So something called an EpiPen in an emergency situation, if you had that, would help you. But I know ladybugs too. I mean, they're all of a sudden, you're at your house and you see a ladybug flying around your house. Like, what's that all about?
Well, it's going to depend. Like ladybugs, it's also a cyclical thing. You'll see more ladybugs when there's more aphids in the trees. They live off the honeydew of those particular insects. So if you have a peach tree, for example, and it's got a lot of aphids in it, you start to notice that the leaves are starting to curl and become black. Well, you have a lot of aphids, you're going to have a lot of ladybugs. That's just the way it works. And it's not a bad insect. I mean, it's not going to harm anyone.
They're supposed to be good luck.
More of a nuisance insect. But they actually are a very beneficial insect in terms of keeping the population of aphids down. So nothing really to worry about.
No.
Absolutely not. They could get into your house and maybe congregate around window ledges. And they're probably going to get in through areas around the brick, or any kind of gaps that you have. If you have some loose caulking, they may congregate there and overwinter there, but I really wouldn't really worry about them too much. But I'm sure that with the winter that we've had, we'll have some kind of infestation of some kind of insect or mammal.
Right.
It's just a question of let's just wait and see what it is this year.
The
year before it was mice. I mean, I've never seen so many mice before last year. Last year was wasps, and then the year before that was mice. And now it seems like we're going back into mice and rats again. So, I mean, you get the rat calls all at the same time. You get them in September, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, it was just like rats.
Oh, man, really?
So now we're going into, who knows what we're going to end up with this year.
Well, I guess they're all hidden in quarters all over the place, and, because they're not going out and about. So maybe, it's created more of reproduction on the rat world.
Yeah.
Just before we close, I think what's really interesting is condominiums. Like, people think that when they live in a condominium, they really won't have problems of pests. But I do want to make a comment. A lot of times, if board of directors or even property manager are watching budgets, they may not be using the proper chemicals to keep their garbage rooms clean, and because they're trying to save on their budget, but that is the worst place they can possibly be saving on their budget, because the garbage rooms, all the chutes, everything has to be sanitized, has to be cleaned.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to find yourself with some kind of infestation of some pest through the building.
Yes, it's true.
And it's probably harder to get rid of them in a condo building. Like, I mean, they can just go from unit to unit.
They can. I mean, I would say that you're looking at, in a condo setting, you're looking at definitely it's going to be bed bugs.
Well, that's
got to be one of the worst scenarios in a condo. It would be the bed bug problem. And you're going to have, we find that a lot of problems with regard to roaches are around the units where there is a garbage chute. So they're actually climbing those chutes and getting up in there.
And what about something called, there's a beetle of some sort that seems to be a beetle. It's very small. I actually, on behalf of the Condo Owners Association, we get emails from time to time, and one in particular was some kind of a beetle. I can't remember.
Variated carpet beetle, perhaps?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly that type of thing. So where's
Right.
that coming from? Like that was up on a higher floor as well.
Right. So, the homeowner may have brought a carpet in from a different property, or some carpeting, or they live off the box spring, the fabric that lines the bottom of the box spring. Sometimes they can start eating that thing. You may have a dog that's shedding those dog hairs. They can live off the hairs of the dog, for example.
Okay. So that's where the carpet beetle is coming. I've never even heard of that until just recently.
Yes, carpet beetles, and you may find moths too. Like sometimes you'll find a kind of like a goldish, yellowish looking moth called a clothes webbing moth. Same idea. It's not a beetle, it's a moth, but it also creates the same kind of damage in fabrics.
Right.
For example, you may have a nice suit in your closet. All of a sudden one day you open up the door and there goes your $1,000 suit,
Oh, wow.
So,
for sure.
things like that, right?
Yes, for sure. So, yeah, years ago they used to have those nasty mothballs. They smell awful.
Yeah, naphthalene, yeah. It works. But
yeah.
Another problem, too, that people find in condos, you may have a pantry moth, for example. You may have this little tiny moth that is in your kitchen cupboards flying around.
Really?
You could bring that from the store. You may have a bag of flour or some pasta that you haven't eaten for a while that has the egg in it. And, it sits there long enough. It creates an Indian meal moth, it's called. So you want to clean out your cupboards every so often, sanitize them, and maybe even have a pheromone trap that you can buy and just hang it in your condo unit to try to trap some of these moths mechanically.
So one big shout out is if you do live in a condominium and you have any of these, you know what, do yourself a favor and everybody around you, get a hold of your property management and make sure that they contact Joe Bruno of Snap Pest Control at 647-991-1803, or they can email snappestcontrol@gmail.com. Very important. I guess if they stop it before it goes any further and travels around me, would be a huge benefit down the road, wouldn't it, Joe?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to stop the station in its early stages. You don't want to wait too long because they can travel. They can literally go underneath the door and walk across the hallway and get into the next unit.
Exactly. And then they're going to turn around and come right back because you're just such a nice...
Now you've got two units to deal with.
Well,
what I mean? So
there you have it. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It was fascinating, and we couldn't have picked a better time for their insight into pest control.
Yes, this is the time of the year when things start to happen, animals start to move, and now you have to really have your guard out for pests. And we've all got some kind of pest.
Exactly. Well, you've heard it here on The Condo Expert. You've been listening to Linda Pinizzato. Have a wonderful day. Please be on the lookout for a pest that could be living in your home.
Linda Pinizzato. She's not your typical realtor. She's your real estate counselor, teacher, and advisor. Whether it's a house, townhome, or condo, when you're ready, she's your negotiator. With 34 years of experience, Linda guarantees that you have the real estate knowledge you need to make the right decisions. Call Linda Pinizzato at Sutton Group Quantum Realty, 416-561-7373, or visit her at lindapinizzato.com.
Hello there, it's Linda Pinizzato of The Condo Expert. And, I have to thank you for tuning in, for checking into Connect Me Radio. Every week we have the shows, Wednesday and Friday nights at 7 p.m. And you can also listen to podcasts. So Linda Pinizzato /podcast.com and, Linda Pinizzato /Buzzsprout.com. And also iTunes. Just type in Linda Pinizzato or Condo Expert. One thing I want to mention is, although the name is Condo Expert, I try to touch a lot of different subjects because, one thing revolves to the next. I mean, you can talk about condos, you can talk about single-family homes, you can talk about the market, the economy. You can talk about, last week it was about bugs and pest control. We've talked about mortgage financing, lawyers, the Condo Act review, what's going on with our city hall, municipalities, provincial government. Today, the episode's been about modular homes. We we touched on mobile homes. There isn't a subject that I can't touch on. And if you are interested in listening to something that has tweaked your mind and you just can't find the real information, please email linda@lindapinizzato.com, because this is where you're going to get the information. And it's fun, it's exciting, and at any given time, just type in condoexpert.com and it will give you the total rundown of all the shows that have been out there. There's over 200 shows. Now's the time to learn more. As a realtor for the last 35 years, I've been so fortunate to learn so many different things about everything that we have talked about, and I'm here to help you. So thank you so much for tuning in. You're listening to Linda Pinizzato at the Condo Expert. Hope to hear from you soon, and have a wonderful, fabulous day.